My dear Christian sisters, welcome. Welcome to a variety show of biblical insights, homemaking, child-rearing helps, wife talk, recipes, and just simply sharing life together. Well, I'm ready for a break. How about you? I think I'm going to take this apron off, sit down, get comfortable, enjoy some tea with you. And, oh, what have we here? Well, check this out. We have, oh yeah, I got to tell you about this. A little warning. I'll tell you. We'll tell you what, let's just get our tea ready. Sit down, sit down. I know, girls, I'm corny. I am very corny, and I know that about myself. So if that's what you were thinking when you saw my intro, I know that about myself. But I'm not into too many takes, you know? I'm going to be here kind of, you know, outtakes can happen, but there's only so far I want to go for perfection. Well, welcome. Welcome to a cup of tea with Shawna Marie. Wow. Do you have this problem when you make healthy bran muffins? I change the recipe so much. Maybe it's the way I do it, I don't know. But I did so many substitutes, it's not even funny. But I'm pretty proud of the way it came out, except for the part that bran muffin just sticks to the paper. Does that happen for you? It is so good though. I love my bran muffins. I think I still owe you a recipe for that because I eat enough muffins in front of you guys. But my muffins are never the same. I need to work on it, perfect it, and then we can talk about my recipe and I can share it with you. Well, hey, what do you think of this bell here? Pretty cute, isn't it? I got that for 49 cents at the thrift store, and guess what? It is from West Germany. I think it's a pretty nice find. I think it's cute. Has a nice ting, ding ding ting to it. And today I am drinking Constant Comment. And speaking of comments, please comment what you're drinking while you are listening to this cup of tea. So welcome to a cup of tea. I'm glad you came here to have your girl time and just to rest, whether you are single or married, whether you're a mom or not. I think if you are a Christian lady, you will gain something from some of these videos because pretty much we're talking heart to hearts, ladies, and Christian topics. So today, oh, that's right. Before we start, this is what was in my pocket today. The little thing to discuss before we start our talk by Elisabeth Elliot. And this is a cute little pack of glow sticks that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I thought they would be harmless because I'm pretty sure they say somewhere on them 3 and over. Yes, it says choking hazard, small parts, not for children under 3 years old. Well, I gave these 4 of another pack to my 4-year-old for his birthday. And it was the night before he turned 4, and I said, look, you're going to turn 4. You can play with 4 glow sticks, right? Sounds like a neat, cool mom thing to do. Well, I walked into his room to see how he's doing with them, and there were little bits of blue in his room, and I was trying to comprehend what this was all about, and suddenly dawned on me, I think one of them opened, and sure enough they did. So why do I tell you that story? Because I want to warn other moms that if you want to be a cool mom and let your kids play with these glow sticks, I would really recommend that you just do it with them. You don't really leave them alone at all. Because even though it says not for children under 3, it's still, I found out the hard way, can open, the stuff inside can come out. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me, and just mom to mom, I just wanted to, or if you babysit children, I just want to let you know, this is best to use with the kids, not being even in the next room over, because they can explode. So, I mean, not like explode like boom, but like the kids can cause them to open, squeeze them or something, and they can get everywhere. So I found out the hard way, and my little guy is fine. What got on his skin, we were able to rinse right away, and he's okay. So I just wanted to tell you he's okay, and don't try this at home. Constant comment is really good, and I won't be annoying this time and constantly comment. It is really good though. So, as promised, we are going to get into the part of the talk where Elisabeth Elliot talks about wanting to be married and about meeting her first husband. And the talk we're about to listen to is about 10 minutes long, so I hope you have your tea in hand and that you enjoy this cup of tea with me.
The second major test of the reality of my commitment to Jesus Christ came at the end of my college years, when it suddenly dawned on me that although I was longing to be a foreign missionary, I was not longing to be a single missionary. And I entered into what at Wheaton College in those days we used to call senior panic. If we girls hadn't been able to nail a match on that campus where there were so many unattached and very attractive Christian men, we knew that our chances would be greatly reduced after we graduated. And if we were going to Africa, which is where I thought I was going, my chances would be even further reduced. And so, of course, I began to pray that God would give me a husband. And God didn't seem to be saying anything at all about that prayer. So then I began to sort of scale down what I was asking, and I just said, now, Lord, could you just give me a hint as to whether I'm supposed to be single all my life? And I knew some great single missionaries who had been great blessing in my life, but I didn't want to be one of them. And so I would say, well, Lord, could you just give me a hint? And the Lord gave me the answer that he gives me almost every time, and I want to know something about what is going to happen. He rarely tells us. It's none of our business what is going to happen. It is our business to do what we're supposed to do here and now. So his answer was, will you love me? Will you trust me? Will you praise me? Just trust and obey. Well, I found myself becoming very interested in a certain young man on the campus, and my brother Dave happened to be on the same wrestling team with this man whose name was Jim. And Dave kept saying, you need to get to know this guy Elliot. You'd like him. And I wasn't terribly interested in my younger brother's friends. My brother Dave is all of 13 months younger than I am, but he and Jim were in the same class, and I was in the senior class, and so I wasn't particularly interested. But I took Dave's advice and came to a wrestling match just to see what in the world a wrestling match was, but of course mainly to see Jim Elliot, and I was horrified. Not sure that I ever went to another wrestling match. But I had the chance to ask Jim. I said, do you like to wrestle? And he said, before the match I'm scared to death, and in the middle of the match I'm in agony, and after the match I'm exhausted, but yes, I like to wrestle. Well, it didn't make any sense at all to me. But then I found out that his primary motive for wrestling was not to become the champion, which he did. He actually became the champion wrestler in his weight class, champion of 4 states. But Jim had made up his mind back in high school that his body belonged to Jesus Christ. And he took Paul's word, I buffet my body and bring it unto subjection, lest, having preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. And so this was just one method of keeping his body under subjection. He came from a family where everybody else in the family was overweight. And he had made up his mind that he could not present that kind of a body to the Lord. And so he took up wrestling. Well, just toward the end of that year, when I was very, very interested in him and doing everything I could to prevent his ever getting so much as the slightest clue that I had any interest, because my mother had taught me two things when I was about 13 years old. She said, never chase boys and keep them at arm's length. Now, I have told many young people, young girls, those two simple rules. And I've told them, if you never chase boys and you always keep them at arm's length, you are never going to find yourself pregnant by mistake. It could never happen. It's a very simple rule, and as far as I could see, it worked for my mother. She had 3 proposals before my father came along. And, of course, by now it has worked for me, because, as you know, I have husband number 3 with me this evening. The other 2 are with the Lord. Many of you don't know that I had a second husband for just 4.5 years. He died of cancer. And Lars, I hope, will outlast me. We have 3 picture frames in our living room with my 3 husbands in them. Now, I want you to know, get this straight, this was not my idea, this was Lars's idea. And I feel obligated to explain to everybody that comes into the living room, that is not my idea. But you know that Lars is a man who is not the least bit threatened by my former husbands. But then, you know, another thought occurred to Lars. He said, we should have gotten 4 frames, and then you could have put a question mark in the 4th one. The story of Jim Elliot and me is all told in intimate detail in the book called Passion and Purity. So I'm not going to tell you much more of that story, except that one evening, after Jim had confessed his love for me, which was just a few weeks before I graduated, we had long conversations, and it was very clear to both of us that God was calling us to the mission field, perhaps in different directions. I was pretty sure I was going to Africa. Jim was very sure he was going to South America. I was graduating. Jim was not graduating. He lived in Oregon. I lived in New Jersey. And the chances of our ever seeing each other again seemed to be 0. But Jim simply said, I'm not asking you to marry me. He said, I'm not going to lay a finger on you. I have no claims on you whatsoever. I'm not going to ask you to wait for me. He said, you go ahead and go to Africa. He said, if God wants to bring us together, God knows how to do that. But for now, God has not given me any green light whatsoever. Maybe he wants me to remain single, perhaps for the rest of my life. And one evening, just shortly before I graduated, we went for a walk, and we just stumbled into a cemetery without really thinking, and sat down on a marble slab that was convenient, arm's length apart. Believe me. And I said to Jim, I don't think it makes sense for us to carry on a correspondence after I graduated, because that would be sort of like trying to hold on to some strings. Wouldn't it be best if we just leave that with God? And there was this long silence, and then Jim said, well, he said, you know, I don't like the idea, but he said, I think you're right, because this morning in my Bible reading, the story was that of Abraham offering his son Isaac on the altar to God. And he said, Abraham offered the most precious thing in his life. He said, you're the most precious thing in my life, so I have put you on the altar, and that's where you're going to stay, unless God provides a ram or some other method, as he did in Abraham's case. And we sat in some long silence after that. And suddenly I realized that the moon had risen behind us and was casting the shadow of a stone cross on that slab between us. Amy Carmichael wrote, "Lord crucified, O mark thy holy cross on motive, preference, all fond desires, on that which self in any form inspires, set thou that sign of loss. And when the touch of death is here and there laid on a thing most precious in our eyes, let us not wonder. Let us recognize the answer to this prayer." And so that was the deepest lesson up to that point. I was 21, Jim was 20. The deepest lesson in what the cross means. And of course, Betty Scott Stam had set the tone in my life. Work out thy whole will in my life at any cost. At any cost. Now and forever.
So there you have it, folks. The part of the talk where she introduces meeting her husband, and we'll find out later more about their lives and what took place. So I was figuring that next time we could actually, since you got to watch Elisabeth Elliot, so to speak, watch with your ears. You got to see her meeting her husband. It has occurred to me that some of you may not know who Elisabeth Elliot is, so in a sense, I would like to introduce you to Elisabeth Elliot, and we'll do that next time. So please join me next time for that. In the meantime, this is the part of the show where we get to just chit-chat a little bit about life, and, well, we had a good week last week. It was, my son got to do vacation Bible school, and my husband and I went on a date, and all those things were unusual for us, so it was a really great week of my son getting some fun socialization and me getting a little bit of time free, and it was just good to, go out with my husband for several hours and just go out to eat, stop at a yard sale, just something that we really shouldn't neglect when we're married is to have some time to date, because it's too easy for life to become very usual and, work and sleep and work and sleep, and you just, you're making food, you're cleaning, and you're not ever just remembering what it was like just to date. And so that's what we did, and I can't even tell you when we did that last, so it was really great, and I know we're going to need to do that more, because when you get married after all that time dating together and spending time over meals and talking a lot, and then when you get married, if it gets lost in the shuffle, the thing you used to do when you were dating, you kind of need to revisit it, because that's the person you got to know before, and you want to, keep that that friendship alive, where you can talk with your husband and not have a little one to, tell him to sit down or cut his food or something. You just need non-interruption with you and your husband, because you didn't have that problem before when you were dating, and children aren't a problem, but you need to get time, just the two of you, to just talk heart to hearts, and so I totally encourage you to do that as well. It was worth it. Well, let's see, what else have I been doing? I've been organizing my home. I got some neat stuff from Walmart and I guess the Dollar Tree, and things that can help educate my son, as well as playtime, and things I can use for his channel and my channel, some fun art stuff. Oh, and yeah, we don't need the glow sticks, not in his bin. Keep those out of his reach, right? We learned the hard way. Okay. So moving on. Yeah, that's about it. It's just been a good last week. And before I go, there's just one thing I want to share with you. Something to count on at the end of the show each time is the quick and fun recipe. And today's quick and fun recipe is another saladmation. So what was that? That was light red beans, black beans, chickpeas, onions, cucumbers, and your favorite vinaigrette. And it just tastes so delicious. It tastes good when you first make it, and it also marinates quite nicely by the next day, so you can enjoy it the next day too, probably for a few days if it lasts that long because it's so good. So enjoy your saladmation, and if you have any great ideas you want to share with me so that I can make it into a saladmation, be sure to tell me. So until next time, enjoy your tea, and I'll see you next week, and we will talk about who is Elisabeth Elliot. Okay? Thanks for coming. Bye! Please subscribe. I'm really grateful for all my subscribers, and tell your friends. Thanks. I'm looking forward to you coming. So come again soon. Come next week, next Thursday. All right.